My name is Lisa Wyatt. I am part of the Mary Lou Fulton Teachers College Next Education Workforce team. I have the honor of working with elementary schools that are developing next education workforce models, and Stevenson is one of those schools. I'd like to introduce the amazing Stevenson principal, Krista Adams. Krista, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Lisa. And hello to everyone. Thanks for joining our spotlight session. I also just have to thank ASU. Lisa, I see Brent is on this session. Good to see you, Brent. Just thank you for the opportunity and believing in us to give us this spotlight here. It was just about a year ago that I had really even met Lisa and Brent and started working with ASU, learning more about a teaming model, more than the teaming model that we were accustomed to, and how we could use this new idea of a teaming model to make some of the important instructional shifts that we wanted to. And so it's just exciting that in a year, we've been able to make large moves to build a new normal, and especially in a year of a pandemic and all the other challenges that have faced our nation. So anyways, thank you. And it's really just the beginning, and I can't wait to see where we are by next year. So with that, I just would tell you we would never claim to be experts. So if you came onto this call for an expert of how this is supposed to be done, we are very much in the learning process. We're learning together, and we are a result of tons of people sharing their work with us. Fortunately, before the school closure last year, we got to visit Spark and Mary and just a lot of other schools pouring into us. So our hope is that by sharing our work, that we would just continue to grow this network and of educators that want to make things better for our profession and our students. So in front of us is the lovely team that I've been able to work alongside with. I like to say I really am the luckiest principal in the world. This is our third grade team, and they're going to be sharing the work. So Laura Bristol is our team lead, and she takes a huge responsibility in developing the team and caring for the team. So she's going to be talking about teaming and what it is here at Stevenson. Shelby is going to talk all about how we have kind of dove into a more personalized, deeper learning experience for our students and what that meant for us as teachers as well. And Haley's special story, well, they're all special, but Haley's extra special because Haley was one of our associate teachers last year, and in Mesa Public Schools, that's the district that we're in. We're fortunate. We partner with ASU, and we're able to hire student teachers. So it's a paid year-long student teaching experience. So Haley was with us last year, and we hired her on this year, and she's going to share some wonderful student success stories that we have. And then Megan Zenz is our Title I specialist, and she does pretty much everything at the school, but her specialty, I guess, with this spotlight is how she's helped to support the teaching and learning and move kind of what we've learned into our next steps and where we're headed as a school. So that's what they'll be sharing today. I'm just going to give you a little bit of background of our school, just knowing that we were going to have people on the call from all different places within the country. Stevenson is elementary school. We serve preschool through sixth graders. We're located in Mesa Public Schools on the East Valley of Mesa, but we're actually on a county island just in the middle of a city. So the county island is just known as for it, it is a very impoverished area, a lot of drugs, homelessness, crime, that sort of thing. So the community that we serve is a beautiful community. You can see that in our children in this picture right here, but they're significant needs. And I also know that that's not unusual. That is a common thing across our state and across our country. And I think that's what's special about maybe this presentation is this is just a regular school that you might find anywhere, serving some really amazing students that might come from some backgrounds that have some significant needs. We have a high amount of homelessness, foster care. We have high mobility, but we're making great strides. So this is my third year at Stevenson. I came to Stevenson 3 years ago, and Stevenson was experiencing lots of challenges that many high title schools do. I was the third principal in 3 years. There had been a significant turnover in staff, and there was a need for some immediate change. The school had earned a label of a D And so there was this feeling of a lot of caring educators, but feeling kind of hopeless and needed a place of hope and to see what our kids could do. And that was the start of our journey. Fortunately, through a lot of hard work and some really strategic school improvement initiatives that have probably seen all throughout the country, we were able to move from a D to a B within 1 year, which was exciting and great. But I have to say that as a staff, we wanted more. We wanted more than just students that could comply in classrooms and pass tests. We knew that there was more to education. We wanted more for our own students. So with that, Megan, if you could go to the next slide, we're really fortunate that our district, Mesa Public Schools, has adopted this beautiful portrait of a graduate, and the whole community came together to help identify what we want graduates of Mesa, what attitudes and skills we want them to leave our organization with. So, and there weren't high scores on high stakes tests, right? They were things like ethical, inclusive, resilient. We wanted them to be collaborators, communicators, community contributors, creative thinkers, innovators, and problem solvers. And so what was exciting when our community came together and identified this, that there wasn't really an educator that you could find that didn't want this for our students. But the big question was how could we do this? And that's when the partnership with ASU was so meaningful to us, because it was the idea that we could leverage teaming to help make these huge instructional shifts to better align what we were doing with our ultimate goal of a portrait of a graduate. So that's kind of where the journey began to making things better for our students. And before I turn it over to the teachers who are doing the heavy lift of the day in and day out work, I know there were going to be leaders throughout this conference and on this presentation. I really would like to highlight that I think we have a responsibility as leaders to create conditions for our educators to make these changes. I'm so fortunate at Mesa Public Schools that our leaders, our superintendent, Dr. Forlis, and my direct area superintendent, Dr. Mallerwein, has a high buy-in to this work and have really committed to doing these things for me as a school leader, these things like creating psychological safety, valuing what the work we're doing, encouraging, trusting us to make change for our students. And it's then my job then to relate that down to the teacher and into the classroom. And so I think we have a huge responsibility as educators. Teachers cannot do this alone. We have to leverage the resources they need. We have to remove the barriers that are in our organizations, whether they're programs or just procedures, things that are there that sometimes get in the way of the important work. And then we as the leaders really need to celebrate and highlight the wonderful work that's being done. And so with that, let's go on to the wonderful work being done. I'm going to toss it on over to Laura Bristol, our team lead.
Hi guys, I'm Laura. This is my 9th year in education, my 3rd year at Stevenson. And I just want to start out by describing our team a little bit. So we do have 3 certified teachers, myself included. And then we have 3 student teachers from ASU who are our associate teachers. They are paid by our district. They're there full time. They have contracts, and we treat them like real teachers because that's what they are. They're serving that function for our team, and they're building that experience as they go. We also have the collaboration of a SPED department and all of our special area teachers as well. And so together, our group of 6 services 75 students who are all in 3rd grade. About 40 of those students are in person and 30 of those students are online. So we do our remote and in-person instruction within our team. So in order to kind of help parents facilitate this change in thinking and structure, we divided the kids into smaller groups of about 10 to 12 so that parents would have a contact person from our team that they could contact and reach out to and build some relationships with. And then our team also uses some distributed expertise for delivering instruction and delivering content specifically to help kind of make that streamlined, and more efficient. So right now, because of the COVID restrictions, our students stay in one learning environment, and our teachers are the ones that rotate and move flexibly throughout the day. So Megan, if you want to go to the next slide. A big part of this that we started last year that has been able to make us successful this year is preparing our team. So last year around this time when Krista came to us with this idea, we weren't really sure what it would look like. So we did a lot of professional development. We went to some conferences. We went and visited different schools that were doing similar things. And we had a lot of conversations about how do we take what we're seeing and what we're learning and adapt it to Stevenson, what's going to work for our school. Because we aren't going to be in the same situation as some of these other schools. We want to make it work for our kids. We also met as a team throughout the summer regularly to discuss things moving forward. We started with setting some norms for how we were going to handle collaborating and how we were going to handle conflict. I think that really set us up for success because working with 6 adults, everybody wants to do their own thing, especially in teaching where traditionally you have your own classroom and you have the flexibility to kind of make all your own decisions. Now we're stepping into this space that is completely collaborative, that you can't always have it your way. You have to be willing to compromise and make changes. So we spent a lot of time setting up norms for how we were going to handle working with each other. So each of our team members was given a list of questions to kind of sit with and think about by themselves. And then we came together as a group and discussed each of the questions about how we wanted to handle conflict, how we felt about time management or handling different situations, how we wanted to work together, how we wanted to be supported. And I think that conversation really set us up to be successful. Another really important part of preparing our team was prioritizing relationships, not just relationships with our students that would be coming in, but relationships with each other. We spend the most time together and really investing in each other and learning about each other as people and not was really beneficial to us. We eat lunch together. We communicate every day. We have open communication. We want to make sure each of our team members feels heard. So that way, when conflict comes up, and we can address it and we can move on and we can grow from it. Part of that communication stems from working with the students every day. So we have a debrief every afternoon after the students leave where we all sit together and we discuss what happened in each session, in each classroom, in each space every day. We talk about student positives and negatives. We talk about anything that might have come down from the office that needs to make sure it gets to everyone. We talk about any parent emails we've received, so that way we can all be on the same page. Not only do we have a verbal communication, but we also utilize communication logs. So Google Suites has been our saving grace this year. Everything that we need for our team, every documentation for planning, collaborating, communicating, tracking student incidents, tracking student academic performance, all of that is housed in our Google Suite in a shared folder. So that way every team member has access to it, as well as some of our support staff. So that way anything that comes up, everybody's on the same page, everybody has information about the student in a concise way. Things have fallen through the cracks and we've learned and grown from it, but ultimately that failed communication just creates missed opportunities for kids. And as the team lead, it falls to me to make sure that we have systems in place for that communication so that we don't have a breakdown there. And ultimately this teaming model, when we started talking about it, it was different, and I wasn't sure what it would look like, but I'm so glad that we decided to do it. The benefits of it are so great. We all know that many hands make light work, but I also think we're able to create really detailed, intricate plans because we have a lot of minds and a lot of differences coming from our team so that we can all work together. And we're able to take a lot of risks because it's not all on one person. The stress of being successful and executing some of these other tasks, the risk of taking those on isn't as great because you're sharing the load. We've also been able to make a lot of instructional shifts at a very fast rate because there are so many people to keep moving things forward. We just started this when we came back this year, and we've already seen so many improvements and so many great things coming out of our students. So I'm going to hand it over to Shelby so she can talk a little bit more about how we are creating personalized learning opportunities for our kids, and what that kind of looks like.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Shelby Madej, and I am one of the certified teachers in 3rd grade at Stevenson. This is my 2nd year at Stevenson and just my 3rd year as an educator. So I want to share with you our approach to this personalized learning with our students. And I feel like it's best to just kind of give you some insight of where we were at coming into the school year, where we kind of saw our students, and where, you know, as Laura just said, how we kind of felt as all of this being brand new to us. We were really asking our students to look at learning in a whole new way. We wanted to create agency and autonomy in the classroom. And we really wanted our students to be taking ownership for their learning, voice their opinions, ask questions, advocate for themselves, and pursue their learning through their individual passions and desires. And so we felt like this was a big step for our students to take, but also for us as teachers. And so we knew we needed to implement some structures and scaffolding in order to make this transition manageable for all of us. One of the first things that we implemented was for our approach to deeper and personalized learning was through our curriculum, and we decided to use Lucy Hawkins' Reading and Writers Workshop. And this really gave us a roadmap to be able to start to introduce student-centered learning. This workshop model allows for a lot of student choice. So, you know, choosing their own topics, books, discussions, having that collaboration. And it also allowed us as teachers to start implementing individual conferences with our students. And so this one-on-one support was really invaluable in knowing exactly where our students were in need in the moment of their learning. And so we noticed that through this model, we were able to touch on and support students much more efficiently and effectively by meeting, you know, our students who have a greater need daily or every other day, where some of our students who need a little bit less support, we are able to use more of a weekly check-in support system through that. Because we are doing these individual conferences, we have all of this data on our students. We're meeting with them regularly and right side by side with them as they're in the midst of their learning. We were able to create some reading intervention groups that happen daily. And this is more of those levelized groups where we're giving direct instruction to practice their skills and really hone in on those individual needs efficiently. Additionally, we wanted to add in Genius Hour as soon as we came back from Q2 and really foster this idea of inquiry and letting their learning be driven by their passions. And so we knew this would be a challenge, and we knew it would be messy, and it definitely was. Haley's going to talk next and kind of give you some insight of what that looked like with our students, but we felt like this was something we needed to go, because what ended up happening is it created an environment where our students felt responsible for their learning and where they could practice these foundational skills where, you know, we've been fostering those in other subjects. So eventually we started implementing all of these things, and it led us to the opportunity at the end of middle of Q2 to start implementing book clubs in our workshops. And this really fostered the collaboration and the personalization of reading based off individual skill levels. And we were able to modify this for our struggling readers as well and give them the opportunity to greatly learn from their peers as well. So overall, we have been able to implement and accomplish so much in a very short amount of time, honestly, as we look back. And really this stems from this collaborative team model. Last year, I was a brand new teacher at Stevenson in a single classroom with my 27 students. And, you know, typically what that would look like was my instruction was whole group. It was all the kind of the same idea or the same lesson for all of my students. And the only differentiation I did was pull the same 4 to 5 students to a small group to help support their needs. And I was missing that opportunity to, help and serve the needs for all of my students daily. And this really ultimately I lacked the opportunity to collect data, meet with my students one-on-one, and monitor their progress throughout the school year. And so I lacked the ability to know where my students were and build those relationships with them in a deeper way. And so this year, as a collaborative team, our workshop models have led to a more personalized student-led curriculum, and we can see our students' interests shine through their learning. So we know our students so much better on an academic level, but also just through meaningful relationships and building those throughout the school year. And I think back now, I'm like, I had 27 students last year. This year, I know 75 better than I probably knew my 27 last year, because we know what makes them tick. We know what interests them and inspires them in this world. And when we have this collaborative team model, we're able to all know our students well, come together and find ways to better suit their needs, and ultimately be able to successfully implement a deeper, more personalized learning experience for all of them. So I am going to pass this off to Haley, and she's going to give you some insight of what this looked like with our students and what we've seen so far through some of their stories.
Hi, my name is Haley Rowland. This is my second year at Stevenson Elementary in Mesa. As Krista mentioned before, last year I was an associate teacher, and this year I am certified and on the amazing collaborative third grade team. It has been an honor to start my educational journey in my career in such a collaborative team. And the best part has been able to see like what our collaboration as a team has made such an impact on the students in third grade. They have grown tremendously in all areas and various levels and abilities. So I'm going to start by talking about a student named Jeremy. Jeremy is a student who has an IEP, and he's had many meltdowns and has had to be removed from the classroom many times. At the beginning of the school year, Jeremy refused to write. Writing was such a trigger for him, and it often ended in him being removed, which meant missing content, which was not good for him or for us being able to not be able to meet his needs. So when we first started a writer's workshop, Jeremy could write for maybe 2 minutes before getting really frustrated and kind of withdrawing from the lesson. So we stuck with it, and we continued to sit side by side with Jeremy and set daily goals with him. And by the end of the semester, I am proud to say that he wrote an informational book all by himself. It was filled with facts that he researched on his own and ideas that he came up with based on the research that he did. We are so proud of Jeremy, but the most amazing thing was seeing how proud he was of himself once he realized that he could do some pretty hard things. Next, I'm going to talk about a student named Yasleen. Yasleen is an ELL student who is quiet and silently struggled in many content areas. Once we started Genius Hour, she immediately began to flourish. She was able to learn about what she wanted to learn about. And this girl has a passion for Barbie fashion. So she took it upon herself to watch numerous YouTube videos, read many articles, and on her own was able to design and create Barbie clothes made out of just latex balloons, which is pretty impressive. As Yasleen got to be in charge of her own learning, she got way more confident, and that spilled over into the other content areas. So now she uses her voice and she asks questions when she needs help and is way more confident in the answers that she shares out in class. Lastly, I want to talk about a student named Adriana. She is a high achieving student and is very driven to excellence. She is one of the highest readers in third grade and is part of our novel study reading group. Adriana asked me if she was able to read ahead, and which is much faster than the rest of the novel study group. And to be honest, when she asked me, I was hesitant. I wasn't sure what that was going to look like, having her finish before the rest of the group, but I knew that I was hindering her by not letting her read at her own pace. So she went ahead and she read, and she finished the book about a week before the rest of the group. And she took that time to come up with comprehension and discussion questions. And for the last week of the semester, she led our entire novel study group on her own. She was the teacher, and she asked the questions, and she influenced her peers to really dive into the book and analyze the characters in the story. So as we know, typically in low socioeconomic schools, we cater to the students who perform low academically. But when you have a collaborative team like we do in the third grade at Stevenson, who wants the best for each and every student, we have the power to meet the needs of all students and push them to their highest potential. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it over to Megan.
Thank you, Haley. So my name is Megan Zins. I'm the Title I specialist, as mentioned before. This is my 11th year in education and my 4th year as Title I at Stevenson. So as we know, this year started off with a plan, but we've had to be flexible and not be able to do everything that we envisioned. But there are still some really good things that have happened. So some of the things that we learned to make this year so successful was building this strong team. So through the relationships and having this strong team lead has really influenced the successes in this team. We also have supportive administrators, and collaboration with other school sites and the support from ASU have really been helpful. Another thing that has made this year so successful is that debrief at the end of the school day. So this allows everyone to be on the same page. The teachers talk about the positives and the negatives, the student data, what behaviors happened, the communication that needs to happen with the parents, and just communication with each other. Everybody's on the same page. Another thing that has happened is scaffolding for our students. As mentioned, they had a pretty rough year in 2nd grade. And so as much as we would love these students to just come in and be able to learn whatever they want to learn about, we've had to learn how to scaffold and guide them on how to pick those topics and pick those projects that they're going to do. And so using choice boards and wonder boards and learning how to build those projects has been a huge success for us. Some of the adjustments that we've had to make throughout the year is our scheduling. So one teacher was planning a subject and then trying to explain it to all the other teachers to go and teach it. And we have found that the communication was difficult. Some things were lost in translation. And so we have turned to distributed expertise where one person's planning and they're teaching it to all the students. This has been so wonderful because now all the teachers see all the students every day. We are also aligning our ELA curriculum with our inquiry and science and social studies. And so while the students got to pick their own topic, whatever they wanted on this first project, now it's more structured of what are they working on ELA and what are their wonders in ELA, and we're going to carry that into our science and social studies and expand on it there. As administrators, we are very encouraged by this teaming model. Having a team working together allows the students to know that they have a team of educators that are behind them. Instructional shifts are happening at a higher rate, and all teachers have taken ownership of the students. And I would say the biggest thing is every time that we walk into these rooms, there's just a feeling in the air that the students are wanting to be there and wanting to learn. They're not just complying. This team is a building block for our school and students to expand. And we are really looking forward to expanding it to other grade levels. We would like to open it up for questions.
Thank you, Megan, and thank you, team. So with that, we do want to open up for Q&A. So I encourage everybody who can to go ahead and turn on your camera because we'd like to be able to see faces and create as much as we can of an environment where we're face-to-face and having a conversation. So if you can go ahead and come to camera, that would be great. If you prefer to drop a question in the chat, you're welcome to do that. If you're comfortable doing so and you have a question, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question. Let's see what we've got for this team.
Hi, everybody. I am so enjoying your presentation. Thanks for being here today. I was just curious, what are your ambitions for spreading to other teams at the school?
Okay, I'll take that question. So basically our vision was we needed our staff to see how this would work with our very own students. We had done a lot of investigation of watching other schools, but we needed to have the buy-in right here at our school. And so it's happening and it's exciting and their colleagues are seeing it. And so what's happened is some of these ideas have now trickled out throughout the school in an organic way. So the it's crossed almost all grade levels one way or another. But what the strategic plan is, we know that we're not going to give these third graders this experience and then next year just put them back into isolated classrooms. So the fourth grade team is preparing this year to welcome these third graders into basically similar model at the fourth grade level, and hopefully year by year at least roll that up, if not quicker and sooner. So some of the things we're doing to make that happen is these ladies took on the instructional shifts and the teaming model like all at the same time, right? Our fourth grade team has already adopted the reading and writing workshop, so that is something that won't be a struggle for them, as well as our second grade team took it on. So now that our third graders coming into next year will be much more prepared. And then the other teams are slowly bringing on that model as well. So that's kind of how we're rolling it out, and it is spreading. So it's exciting.
Thanks, Krista.
What other questions? Again, feel free to share them in the chat, but you can also just come off mute and ask your question.
Okay, I waited for others. I do have another one. Okay.
Please go ahead.
Right. Okay. This is probably another question for Krista. So I'm really interested in how to help leaders be more ready for this change. So you have such a fabulous group of teachers, but I'm wondering, like, what advice do you have for other leaders or for persuading other leaders the importance of this?
Well, it probably would have never happened if I didn't have the support from my superintendents. And so I think it does start there. I mean, I think you probably have some pretty confident rogue principals out there that wouldn't need that support, but it was something that made it a lot easier. But I think what's been invaluable for me is the networking with other leaders. I mean, in Mesa Public Schools, we're pretty fortunate that we have several, different schools doing some innovative work. And so we are just linking arms and sharing ideas and collaborating. And then with Lisa, just facilitating a network even beyond Mesa Public Schools has been really, really helpful. I would say that's the biggest thing. And then I've just developed trust. I trusted these ladies anyways. But I think the idea of trusting the process, that it was going to look different. As Shelby said, it was going to look messy, but knowing also that our kids needed better, they deserved better. And I worked at a school that had a focus on inquiry with higher socioeconomics prior to this. And I just didn't feel like our kids deserved any less than what those kids deserved. And that's just kind of been the driving force. But the networking and the trust and the support have been crucial.
If I can pile on a question, because I have some insight, like Krista, what was for you, and this is building on Betsy's question, what was for you the piece, like how did you even get exposed to these ideas? What was the piece that helped you think like, yeah, maybe we'll try this thing, right? Because it was a process. So what was kind of that initial nudge for you?
Well, I'll be really honest. My first year when we were a D, I knew we had to make quick gains, but it was our second. I mean, it wasn't before the end of the year. I was telling Megan, this isn't enough. Like, we've got to go somewhere else. I don't know where the else is and what it's going to be. So I already knew in my heart, this is like not the best school experience. These kids needed more. And so when the portrait of the graduate came out, it was like, yay, right? Here's a road, or here's a goal, and here's a reason. And I mean, it was various things as to what it would be. Of course, our collaboration with Spark and seeing Spark. What was funny, we joke, is we went to Spark and we were totally impressed, but we were like, that's a lot of technology, maybe not so much for us. And then like the pandemic hit and everything, we were forced into technology, you know. But we visited Harris, another school within our district. And what Megan and I did is we dove into a book club with other leaders and read a book called Leading Well, based on the Lucy Calkins Reader and Writers Workshop, which helped. So I mean, I think it was there. I think what was we were uncovering is what it would look like. And really the partnership with ASU with the teaming model helped us like embrace it and bring it all on together. But we're still navigating with what it looks like. We know we don't want to be Spark. We know we don't want to be Harris. We want to be Stevenson, and we're figuring out what that means here.
Thanks, Krista. What other questions?
I have a question for the educators. Did you ever have any kind of pushback or resistance or hesitation from the students about having a group? Did they feel like, how did they feel moving to the group environment?
So I'll start. So I guess it's got definitely good and bad parts, but our kids that are in third grade now, last year they had a really tumultuous experience. They had a lot of teacher turnover. So they had several new teachers throughout the year. And so I think because they had experienced so much of that turnover in second grade when they got to third grade, and there were so many of us, I don't think that really fazed them. I think they just kind of rolled with it because they're like, oh, I have a bunch of teachers again. I think what has been good for them this year, though, is that we are consistent. We're staying there. They see all of us every single day. So they have relationships with every single one of us. I think that's been the biggest change we've seen in them. But even last year, we did somewhat of a teaming model. We still had 3 ASU associate teachers, but I was their mentor and we only had 2 classrooms. So it was kind of like a micro version of what we're doing. And even then, like the kids got really used to having us all. And I think having each different kind of personality within the team to have like that kid can find somebody they really connect with. And it doesn't have to be that one teacher for all 20 kids to really love and attach to. Like they can all pick, who they want to be, who they feel connected to the most.
Thank you.
I'll use my teacher wait time. What other questions have we got? I'm going to ask one of the questions that I've got. Kind of Brent, I saw you come off mute.
I don't want to talk more, but if people aren't going to jump in, is this fun? Is this fun, or is it like a huge pile of work, or is it both, or like what do you think?
I mean, it is definitely a huge pile of work. This is a big undertaking, and but it is so fun because you're not doing all this work in isolation. You get to work, and we've really worked hard at building friendships and relationships on our team. And so when we have to spend time together planning and doing all this other stuff, it doesn't feel as heavy. It's a little bit more fun. You guys can jump in. What do you think?
I was going to say, I constantly find myself like just having so much gratitude for my team. And I think this year has been a tough year for educators, and I can't help but feel so thankful that I have a team to lean on and that I'm not in isolation trying to navigate. what this looks like. I think yes, it's hard work, but I think every educator has a lot of hard work that they're doing. So I am just so grateful that I have a team to lean on, because we're so much more efficient. We can, we kind of talked about this yesterday, be brave together. And Laura said that too. Like, we can lean on each other and make these changes and step out of boundaries a lot easier because we have each other. So I find myself very grateful for this team.
I also think that when the days are hard and you have a team, it makes them not as hard. I think that when you are in a single classroom by yourself, when the days are hard, you're alone suffering. And when the days are hard, it's very easy to lean on your team and kind of get that support that you need instantly. And I think it's really cool when you're able to build those relationships. Like, I feel like I get to work with my best friends every day, which is pretty awesome.
And I also want to add, like, the kids are having fun. Like, this was a group last year that had tons of behavior issues. They were always in the office, and I don't think we've had a single, we have one student that sometimes has to go to the office to calm down. But overall, like, we aren't having these behavior issues. The kids are having fun, and they're seeing us have fun and be excited about what we're teaching them, and they're in turn being really excited about what they're learning. And so it's hard work, it's a lot, but it is really fun, and the kids have fun, and I think that is really rewarding.
And what I would like to add, when you walk into these classrooms, there's a sense of calm. Like, everyone, it feels a little bit more like a home. Even the kids just feel the sense of calm in the room. And I feel like, looking back, I mean, these were the same teachers last year. Shelby in her classroom was phenomenal, and we were so glad she came to Stevenson. But it was a sense of that there was a teacher on a stage, singing songs, doing jumps, doing everything to try to keep the kids like entertained and with her. And it just feels different. You walk into these rooms and everyone's learning, and they're throughout the room, and there's just a sense of calm to it. So, which does make it more fun and light, I would say.
All right. On that note, Stevenson team, whoop, whoop. Thank you for sharing your work.